I hope I hope
Sorry to
that's the
interrupt.
thing. I
What a
I
fucking introduction.
I hope that's the thing that comes up on the stream. Like, yes.
Thanks.
Oh, fucking it.
Thanks.
Right. Now we got to just so I know when it comes to the actual video things on YouTube. Don't worry, I cut these parts. I've started cutting the end and the start just so you don't get that shit. So last week, Zephyr called no, the other week Zephyr called the robot a piece of shit, and it was in
Yeah.
the stream.
Yeah. Oh
Okay.
yeah. So fair one. Fair question. What's the rules on adult language?
Cursing is fine.
Fine.
Oh wait, no, that's up to Greg because he's in charge of the Twitch. What's the rule on adult language?
That's not a problem.
So no racism, no homophobia, no transphobia,
That's not a problem.
no phobias, no spider
Excellent.
phobia.
Oh no,
Arachnophobia.
that one I'm not going anywhere near. Fuck that shit.
Is that arachnophobia I
Yes.
hear? Okay. More legs than two. More legs than four. It's fine. It's just a caterpillar. Right.
Don't, please.
Okay. All right. Let me just, because I know this won't probably record. Okay. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the TU Dublin Ethical Hacker Society podcast. My name is Mick LeBraid. Today, I'm being joined by Scott McGreedy from Scotland, scary place up north where they kill you if you call them British. We're gonna let just Scott ramble on. You can tell we're totally prepared and everything, but we're just gonna let basically Scott's just gonna tell us about his time in InfoSec. So Scott, I'll let you take it away while I go and lie down.
Sure. Thanks very much. Thanks for having me. I have told a few of you before that I basically kind of failed into this industry or kind of fell into this industry by accident. Honestly, that's literally what I've done. I had a really cool childhood where I kind of broke a lot of PCs and stuff. I remember getting 1994, 93, somewhere about there. My parents got an IBM Aptiva and I broke that shit every single day. I just kept breaking it, wanted to learn more about it. And that kind of spurred into this kind of lifelong interest in tech, and I had no idea. I still don't believe it's really a job, but I had no idea it could actually lead to a job. I just thought it was like computers and music are just hobbies and not actually things you can do to earn money or, support yourself. So I kind of stumbled through school. I caused a lot of havoc there, learning my skills. Me and another guy would fight, well, kind of like face off against each other. Sub 7 was a great tool. We installed that network wide in the school at the time. Basically, just messing with teachers, just opening the CD tray. If you've ever seen Sub 7, it is an amazing piece of kit. You can do the matrix screen, so you can kind of mess with teachers, just go follow the white rabbit and stuff like that, which was quite funny at the time. You could flip the screen upside down. None of the teachers were technical, so they didn't know what they were doing. But we were kind of playing around with tech. Actually, I kind of shared this story the other night. I think Mick LeBraid knows it, but my first ever kind of moment where I realized this is super cool was back at school. We had a kind of credit card type machine that you loaded your lunch money onto. So there was a machine that you swiped a card, you put money in the machine, it loaded it onto the card, and then you went up to the dinner ladies, gave them your card, and asked for what you wanted. I have no idea why that system was in place. I think it was to stop people stealing lunch money, but then they kind of forgot that kids have to take the money from their house to the machines, and the machines are fully loaded with cash. It wasn't really well thought out. I went to school in Scotland, so not really a good plan. But anyway, I remember one lunchtime sitting there with my friends, just kind of going, "Hey, we're bored. Let's look around this little abandoned room in the cafeteria." We found one of these machines, and I was like, "Hey, let's power it up and see what happens." So we powered it up, and I'm like, "Oh, it needs a card before it can do anything." So I swiped my own card. And we're like, "Oh, this is cool." And started pressing buttons, realizing I was charging myself for about 50 muffins at this point. So I was like it wouldn't go into the negatives, so there was no overdraft in these cards. 15-year-old kids with like 100 quid worth of overdraft of muffins. So I was like, oh shit, like refund, 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 refund. And I kept pressing it and noticed that the £2.50 or £2.60 I had in the card, it bypassed that completely. So if I kept pressing refund, it would go £2.80, £2.90, £2.10. It would just, or £3.10. It would just keep going up. So I just kept pressing it and ended up with like 20 quid on my card. It's like, oh, that's interesting. So of course, standing around a group of mates, they're all like, "Hey, do mine." And within about a day, yeah, all these kids that were like on benefits, so they got like a government £1.50 a day for food. Food was pretty cheap for those kids in school, so it doesn't sound like a lot, but they could get like dinner, lunch, and a couple of snacks for that £1.50. These kids were now walking around with 300 quid on their card every day. And it caused a major kind of uproar going, what the fuck is going on in the school? Like all these kids have suddenly got 300, 400 quid. I never did it to my cards, apart from the 20 quid the first try. And that's how I never get caught. But it did spur this interest in, I wonder how I can break these things. I wonder how I can break these systems or manipulate them to do what I want. And again, I still didn't realize that there was an actual career waiting for me at the end of this. I did some other dicking around with vending machines in the school. So vending machines that were brought in. This was around the time where Jamie Oliver was taking away our turkey Twizzlers, so it was really annoying. But we got all these vending machines in, brand new ones, really fancy kind of swivel machines, and doors opened. You put your hand in, you took it out before the damn thing closed on you. Like, but they all had like bananas and shit in it. And I remember reading up somewhere after downloading like the Anarchist Cookbook and Hacker Manifesto and all this kind of crazy nonsense, and all that files was a manual on how to basically open all the doors on these things and basically change the prices. So I did that. I changed all the prices on the bananas to like £3 and lowered the price of the cookies, which there was only about 10 in the machine, to about 10 pence. And what I realized as well was you could replace the item if you were quick enough with whatever you wanted. So I bought like my parents must have thought, God knows what they thought actually, but I asked them to pick up like 10 or 20 tins of spam, and basically I would take all the bananas out and just replace them with a tin of spam. Got into a lot of shit for that, but do you know what? It taught me a lot about tech, and it taught me a lot about if you see something, try and play with it, try and understand it, try and fuck it up really. See what carnage you can cause, and it's changed my mindset quite a lot, and it gave me a lot of I don't know, I guess kind of focus and determination to look at problems now and kind of go, well, what would 16-year-old me have done? When you see a vending machine, you see an ATM with the case half open, what would 16-year-old me have done with that? What would 16-year-old me have thought to do with that? And it gave me a lot of spur to go to university and really kind of master this ability, which I failed. So if any of you are at university and failing massively, don't be afraid. It took me 4 years to do a 3-year degree. I took a year out in the middle to work in the field, which was literally no one would take me on. So I went to a random local business and was like, hey, I'll manage your IT for a year for a shitty wage just to get experience. And that taught me a shit ton. When I went back to university after that year, I was still doing night courses to try and up my credits because I'd failed the year previous. But they were like, "Hey, you're doing this sandwich degree where you go out in the field. We don't know how quite this is going to work. We don't want to cancel that, but you can do second year after you've done your third year placement." It was a bit strange. Paisley University is not exactly the best, but I decided to do night courses at the same time, and it was there that I realized that the educational environment really didn't suit me at all. What they teach theoretically is not the same as what you do in the field. So when I went back to do my third year, my actual proper third year to graduate, but I did it in my fourth year at university, if that makes sense, because I fucked everything up. Um, I realized very, very quickly, wait a minute, this is you're teaching students one thing, but when they go into the field, they're having to be retrained. They don't understand GitHub. We didn't use source control or anything. We didn't use any proper tools that you would use in the environment. Everything was either roll your own or, just basically crappy, really old tools like VSS, which sucked. I mean, it really sucked. They wouldn't use Git. They wouldn't use what is it, Subversion. They wouldn't use anything like that. It was just always no, no, no. This is the way we have to teach it to give you the degree. And I was a bit okay. That's a bit shit. Eventually graduated, went into pharma tech, which was an interesting job. I worked out in America for a while with a lot of American companies trying to up their or reduce the amount of time a drug takes going from inception and patent to the market because you've got to go through clinical trials. And the one way that we could speed that up was tech just trying to manipulate all this data from paper, basically paper. Every clinician would write down a test result, or when you give drug to patient A, what's the impact of that drug on patient A, and is it a placebo? And then send that off to an office, and it was just stacks and stacks of paper. And our job was to digitize all that, make it quicker, so drugs could get to market quickly. I realized very quickly I was working in an industry that is predominantly evil, an industry that is driven by money more than life. So, for example, we called it life sciences. It was money driven. I really couldn't deal with that. And I quit that job in 2012. I had no idea what the fuck I was going to do. I didn't have anything else to go to. I remember my parents being so disappointed with me, going, "You fucked your life up. You quit this really good job. It's a great salary, but I just wasn't happy." And at this point, bear in mind, I've failed everything that I'd ever touched or done. I just wasn't cut out for education. I wasn't cut out for this corporate job. I wasn't cut out for wearing a shirt and tie and not looking like this to the office, and that sucked. And I've said this to Michael Braid before. I built like 10 or 12 different businesses and products and apps, which all completely and utterly died in their arse. I got death threats for one. Some guy told me I should go and kill myself for another thing. Um, a 99 pence app, like I mean priorities, right? And but through all that, I luckily found a lot of people. So I found a friend who I ended up playing in a band with, and he works for a TV company and said, "Hey, we're doing this show on scams and fraud, and there's a bit of a digital element to it. I don't understand it. Can you just come in and explain it to my execs, and then they can get it?" Um, I did that, but I turned up and did that thing where I was like, "I'm going to take in all my toys and gadgets and just scale the shit out of them for a day." And I did that, and they said, "Hey, like, you're quite bombastic and loud, and you're quite passionate about tech." Yeah, no shit. Do you want to just go on the show? It's kind of cool. It's got, the host is really cool. He's a guy that used to do the Real Hustle, if anyone remembers that. Alexis Conran, really cool guy. You're gonna love him. And sure enough, me and Alexis are really good friends. From that day, I just ended up kind of finding more people in the industry and kind of making friends with them and trying to go, "Hey, I can do that. Let's go and do that." And since then, I've just been kind of professionally winging it, and that was about 3 or 4 years ago. Yeah, so
Well,
that's where I am just now.
I just realized you've also just admitted that you've probably created one of the first like IRL spam.
Yes.
Yeah, nice. I was just like, I literally when you said it there, and I read it there as well, because like I got a list of things, like he sent me a list of stuff, and I was just like, wait, 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 wait.
Yeah. The stupid thing about the spam though was, uh, typical 16-year-old me, I was like, if I'm gonna do something, I want the credit for it. So I wrote
Yeah.
my name and class number on the back of every tin in black markers. So there was just I remember getting called into the headmaster's office, and luckily we got on really, really well. But there was just tins of spam stacked up on his desk. And he's just like, "So have you got anything to say?" And I'm like, "You can't prove it, man." And he's like, "Look at the back of the tins, you idiot. You just wrote your name all over this shit." I'm like, "Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah." So I learned a lesson there. If you're gonna do something like that, don't sign it off. Don't look for the kudos.
I just realized we got to say that we don't condone anybody ever doing such a thing. Oh wait, no, I'm not a SOC officer anymore. I can condone it. So,
Well, I don't condone it. It was funny, but I don't condone it.
I think it's fucking brilliant, though, man.
It was
Um,
fun. It taught me a lot about stuff. It was that ability to go and fuck with something. You see something, fuck with it. Like this idea that so we were in a hotel recently and we were scouting out looking for a venue for an event. And I was like, "Hey, fuck it, we'll just go in this door and we'll just open it and we'll just look in." And the person I was with was like, "No, you can't do that. It's against the rules." I'm like, "No, fuck that shit. The door's open. We're there. We're going to be spending money here anyway." And it's just this idea, and I love working with people in the industry that do that as a living. They just sit there and go, "How can I break this shit?" I love that. It's so cool. I tried to do that in policing, but that failed miserably.
I think that's like the worst thing you can kind of do in policing, though. In fairness, because what like, oh, I want to do this. I want to break this thing. It's like, I'm sorry, what the fuck?
Oh yeah,
You
no.
say you're.
So
Oh, I'm
I
sorry.
so the policing thing that's quite a fun story, but I was brought into a policing team to basically try and bring hackers into police. And I'll skip ahead to the bit that is a direct response to your comment about the police being terrified. We did a hackathon at Links Police Station, so Lincolnshire Police Headquarters. We invited about 50, 60 hackers into the building, and that was a really fun conversation with Lincolnshire Police and them just going, sorry, you want to invite 60 hackers in the building to a police building and give them our drones and shit and give them police cars and stuff so they can go and fuck with stuff? And I'm like, yeah, that's going to be fun. And they were like, what? Do you know what? They got a shit ton of stuff out of it. Most of them, most of the projects that we built over the weekend, well, not me because I'm a fucking idiot, but most of the
That's
projects that we
shame.
Oh no, come on, Ellie. I spent most of my weekend either getting drunk or spilling chips into pizza bowls. That's again
Ah,
another story for another time.
same.
That's another story for another time. But see, most of the projects that all these groups come up with. So we had open source ANPR, so plate recognition that could run. I mean, there's a privacy concern there, but open source ANPR that could be useful in times of crisis. Like you could just put your Android phone or your Apple phone on your dashboard with the camera facing out of your car, drive around, and it would kind of ping back and tell local law enforcement if there was anything going on. Now, obviously, that created a massive. You get 60 hackers in the building, 60 police in the building. Police were going, "Yeah, that sounds great," and all the hackers are going, "Massive privacy violation," including
Yeah.
the team that built it. But it was a fun project for them to tell the police, "Look, this is the kind of shit we can build, and we can do it in 3 days with pizza and beer. Like, what do you think we can do if you invite us in full time?" And there's a lot of cool stuff that came out of that. But yeah.
So, is that what's sort of one of the things that sort of like help combine them? Definitely, yeah. Like the police and the hackers. You get me?
Yeah, so the police team or unit or group that I was involved in was made up predominantly 99% of them were there was about 60 or 70 of us. Not all of us went to that thing. I should point out the Lincolnshire police thing. We put an open call out, and a lot of Lincolnshire people came along. Some people came from
Mm.
Leeds or more further afield, just local to the area, and they've stayed in touch with Lincolnshire police. But my previous role with policing was to bring more technical people into the building. There's a old McAfee interview that I think is brilliant, where he says to someone, "I don't care if the guys I hire outside smoking a joint, and then they come back in, they turn up to the work at like 11 o'clock in the morning or two p.m. in the afternoon, and they stay to 10 p.m. I want them to be happy." And I realize what they want to do is what they want to do, but what they do for me at work is way more important than any sort of like stringent rules. I was just trying to introduce a little bit of element of anarchy into policing, and do you know what? We actually did a lot of good stuff. I've been invited to conferences and policing stuff, even abroad. Dutch police. That wouldn't have happened without that kind of move shift towards, hey, we really need to start interacting more with the tech community. And that was my role within policing, was to try and bridge the gap between us and them, law enforcement and the hacker researchers, and trying to go, look, we can work together. You don't need to like each other. But there's a lot of cool shit out there because the alternative is so much more dangerous, where you're going to end up in 5, 10 years' time where our group, the researchers and the people that are actually tracking this shit, like the recent so-called anonymous stuff, the people that are tracking really bad shit going on are not going to speak to law enforcement, and instead they're going to just help out or muddy the waters or be really, really facetious towards the police rather than trying to actually help to create, a safer world for the general public.
Definitely sounds. Well, yeah, no, I think like definitely would have like bridged definitely a gap, sort of like best. I honestly think it's like one of the best things you could really do. I mean, sort of like bringing them both together because better together. What's happening?
Oh, triggered.
I just realized what I just fucking said. Oh no.
It's okay. It's okay.
Uh,
It's fine. No, but that genuinely, that was one of the catchphrases internally. So I worked with that team for about 2 years, and they kept
having
saying
a
it,
stroke
and
every
it,
time.
it bugged me profusely. But I let it slide. And you know what? I get invited into meetings where I mean, I didn't have clearance for it. I shouldn't have been there. I pretty much blagged my way in because I was friends with a lot of them, and they valued my input and they valued the other people that were in the room's input who, I mean, they're turning up, hoodies, big leather boots, leather jacket, whatever the fuck they want, and they're sitting there with their feet up on the table going, that's bullshit. We can do that in a week or we can do that in a day and charge you nothing for it because it's fun. That's what we're trying to get to. That was the sort of situation we wanted, was to change this idea of, if you've ever heard of any public body such as London Ambulance Service, that is a famous one, trying to get IT projects off the ground, it is incredibly difficult and it costs them billions. Well, it costs them billions, which means it costs the public billions. And do you know what? See if I turned around to any of you just now and said, here's a really cool thing. You can catch a really bad criminal if you solve this OSINT challenge. You probably do it, and you probably do it for free because you're putting a bad guy behind bars or a bad person behind bars. You're helping out your local community by doing so. And there's a little bit of, I don't know, like everybody wants to be Sherlock.
Oh
So,
yeah.
and the ability for you to turn around and say something like the Investigatory Powers Act, that is bullshit and here is why, rather than just fighting from the outside, like shouting into the void on Twitter, which I do 90% of the time.
Oh yeah.
Um, you just shout into the void and say, "This is bullshit. I'm not standing for it." Who's going to listen to it? Like the police ain't going to be trawling through Twitter to see who's pissed off at something. They're just going to automatically assume you're one of these people that gets pissed off at everything. But to be able to sit on the inside and say the Investigatory Powers Act is really, really, really damaging to privacy and to trust, and here is why, and to be listened to as an equal. Holy shit! I mean, that was the idea that we were going for. Sadly, it kind of failed in the end, but we caused a lot of, I would say, damage within, and good damage. I mean, we broke down a lot of glass ceilings. We broke a lot of perceptions that policing had with our community. And do you know what? It's for the better. I painted a massive target on my back and just said, look, if you've got hatred towards how we look, how we talk, how we act, fucking direct it towards me because I'm thick skinned. Like it's not gonna hurt. But if you're gonna direct that towards a 16-year-old student that's trying to help out with policing and they end up with two officers at their door because the officers on the other end didn't understand what the person was trying to tell them. Hey, there's a massive phishing campaign. Oh, right, okay, we'll send out two officers and they arrest that person under Data Protection Act. And
Mm.
because they don't understand what the fuck is going on. Whereas now they actually have an in, they can email someone, they can phone someone and say, "Hey, I spotted this thing. Put me through to your cybercrime unit," and they can have a conversation as equals. I think that's awesome. That's what I was aiming for, but whether or not it sticks is another matter.
I definitely hope it is. I wouldn't know personally. I don't know if that's actually still a thing because obviously different country. But I do hope it definitely sticks around. But actually, you talked about the fishing thing. I noticed in your notes you were saying your first interaction. See, I can see you smiling. Your first interaction would be about what, like about fishing or something. So do you want to kind of go into detail about that? I'm trying to be as vague as possible right
No, no, it's fine. So I wouldn't have written anything if I didn't think you would bring it up.
now.
But so my first interaction with law enforcement was an interesting one, officially, and I mean like cops at my door kind of level. I worked during my placement year from
Mm,
university. I worked for this local business, and I managed their entire infrastructure, IT infrastructure. and I decided to. I think I had on-premise exchange or something. They spent a lot of money on their tech. They actually understood how important this stuff was. So I was like, hey, I want to learn exchange. Let's go on-premise exchange. I mean, it was garbage. It was probably a really, really horrible system and horribly configured because I was learning,
Mhm.
but it taught me a shit ton. And I noticed one day we were getting a crap ton, and I mean a massive, massive amount of spam messages from all over the world directing us to one website, and it was an HMRC phishing link. Standard
Mm.
stuff at the time. You're due this refund, and the numbers always changed, and the sender always changed. I actually think they were spoofing, but fine, whatever. They sent a shit ton of these emails to the company, and because the building we were in had multiple companies, and I managed IT for all of those companies. That's how it kind of worked. Um, we were getting a shit ton of spam. So it's like, okay, this is curious. This is very interesting. I want to go and have a look at this phishing website. I don't know if anybody's looked into phishing websites. If you go on, I know Fish Tank isn't great, but if you go on Fish Tank, actually go on all these phishing sites and then kind of poke around legally, obviously, poke around doing directory traversal, you can kind of find sort of interesting artifacts without realizing it. That's what I was doing. I basically saw the URL was something like hmrcfish.com/something/index. I was like, I wonder what happens if I take away index. And I all of a sudden got a directory listing of everything that was there, including data.txt. I was like, well, that's curious. I wonder what data.txt was. Turns out the phishing site was so simplistic. A lot of the newer ones will email the fraudsters like directly as soon as you post the form. But those ones, and there's still a few kicking about now that do this, when you put in all the details, like your name, your credit card number, your blood type, and God knows what else, it posted it to this file. It just appended it on at the end. And I thought, oh,
Mm.
this is great. This is great information. This was around 2007. I was blown away by this. So I'm like, wow, holy shit, we've got all these victims, all these people. And every time you refreshed, it was like 100,000 more people. I mean, this text file was growing exponentially. I'm like, holy shit, like this is big. This is a big phishing campaign. So I decided to save the text file, the current copy of the text file, and write a script that would just go in and grab it every couple of minutes. So they wouldn't get too suspicious and it wouldn't DDoS the site, but also I had an up to date copy and I could see if anybody was in like taking out records or manipulating it in any way. And I sat on it. I remember sitting there with my laptop in my parents' house going, what like who can I speak to about this? So I phoned Police Scotland and said, hey, by the way, just to let you know, there's this massive phishing campaign. And the woman's like, you have a problem with fishing. There's a problem with fishers in your area, people fishing illegally. I'm like, no, 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 no. And you had to explain it to the call handler. It took ages to get through to her. And I said, look, I have a text file here. This is a major fuck up. Never say this on the phone. I have a text file here with millions of people's details, bank details, like name, address, postcode, telephone number, mother's maiden name, passwords, everything you can possibly imagine, bank account details, sort codes. At which point the woman suddenly got very interested in what I had to give her, and she said, "All right, okay, well, tell me more. And how did you acquire this data? And how did you? What are you doing with the data? Okay, okay, okay. That's fine. We'll pass it to our high tech crime team. That's what they call them." That was it. Never heard anything for 4 or 5 days until all of a sudden there was a ding dong at the door. My mother opened. There's two police officers standing there going, "We'd like to speak to Scott." Like, okay. They came in. I'm sitting up at the worktop, just kind of working away. I look up, and there's two officers there, just going, "Are you Scott?" Like, yeah. They're like, "We need to talk to you. We think you may have violated Data Protection Act." Like, what the fuck? How? When? I was totally confused. I didn't realize they were connected. I thought it was just someone had fucked up somewhere. But no, they sat me down. We had a cup of tea. We chatted about it, and they realized they had a laugh, and they realized like the call handler got the wrong end of the stick, and all this was good fun, good laughs all round. But at the end, I was like, "Look, lads, this is fun. We're having a great laugh. We're having a great time. This data's still here. There's still millions of records here of people's data that you could phone. You could literally pick up the phone and phone every single person and say, change your credit card, you've been scammed. Watch out for your emails. If you've given out like passwords, like change your passwords. Standard advice we give out today, and the police give out today, ironically. And they were like, yeah, we're not interested in that. Take too much time. And I'm like, but
Fuck.
like you have an opportunity here. Like if you guys don't do it, I'm going to do it. At which point they went back to serious mode and said, if you do that, you're going to violate Data Protection Act, and we will arrest you. It's like, okay, that's interesting. Fine. Do you want me to delete the data? And they were like, yeah, delete it. We'll that's it. We'll forget about it. We're just going to write down a few details and that's it. They left. They didn't even watch me delete it. So I'm sitting there with all this data, a telephone, um, and a lot of victims. I absolutely did not categorically phone the vast majority of people that I could find from my local area and say, by the way, you should change your password and cancel your credit card and cancel any cards that you gave them and try to give them a bit of fraud prevention advice. I absolutely would never do that. And I
Not
absolutely
Uber.
I would never rope in my dad to do it either.
Yeah.
And yeah, we went. It was a family affair that day. It
Mm.
was a it was a good day. I think the telephone bill. My mother shat herself when she saw it, but
Ah, just ring
yeah,
each other back and forth, telling each other not to do it. Yeah.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
Yeah.
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 Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Ah, yeah. Why would I wouldn't do that? No, that's a great idea. How are you though? Can you get off the line? We've been on the line for 3 days.
Pretty much. But it was one of those moments where I realized how fucking unprepared like law enforcement is to deal with this shit. You still see it today, and it's 2020. I mean, that was 2017. That's what 13, 14 years ago. Holy
2017
shit.
was 3 years ago.
2007.
Yeah, you just said 2017. I'm like,
Oh, well, sorry, I'm
okay.
I'm I'm still working in 2017 here. Like, my brain is still, like, 3 years behind.
It's just like who knows? Fucking who knows anymore? I mean,
It
fucking
still
times have
scares
been
me
going
that
long enough.
people born after 2000 are, like, 18 now. I'm like, "What?
Oh, it's like
Shit."
I feel. But I remember. Sorry to completely derail the entire thing, but like
I'll
I
go
used
for
to
it.
work back in a bar. What like about nearly 2 years ago? So well, no, a year ago. So 2019. And I used to get IDs from people who were 2000 and 2001 who were legally allowed to drink, and I'm just standing there, just like, there's something wrong here. There's something absolutely wrong here, and I'm not happy about it.
Yeah, it
It was
makes me
just like
feel depressed.
I literally used to. This is probably a bad thing, but when in 2018, I used to go like, okay, if they're under a certain age, and obviously if they're under 2000, they can't drink. And then as soon as the next year rolls on, I was like, okay, never mind, that strategy's gone. I was kind of enjoying that. Fuck's sake.
It's depressing, it really is. But, I mean, that's an interesting point as well, though. Like, the amount of kids that are around, and I say kids in the kind of broader sense, I mean, like 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds. Can you imagine if it was one of them phoning the police now? I hope that things have changed, and my worry is that there's been so I'm pretty, not level-headed. I'm pretty much a juggernaut. When I've got an idea, I'm not gonna stop. I'm not
Mm.
gonna shut up about it. Like, how many people phoned police, got 2 police officers round to the door back then, and they got scared off of doing an infosec career, or even more worryingly, an infosec career on the right side
Mm.
because of that shit? That's what worries me. That's why I ended up in the policing team, was to try and change that shit from the inside. Whether or not I made a difference, I'll never know, but, that worries me.
Hopefully so. I mean, it just sounds like really just because of the stereotype of your whole hacker sort of like mentality to like, oh yeah, no, only to break things, to like, I don't know, you know yourself, it's like there's always stereotypically it's the black hacker, black hat hacker, there's
Yeah.
never the idea of the white hat. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I only knew black hat hacker when I was before I even got into cybersecurity. I didn't even know the idea of you could be actually good in this side, and finding out you can be good in this side is so much more handy because I don't have the mentality nor the care to do illegal things.
Yeah. Although it's ironic, I've been writing an article about it, just trying to hopefully again change things, but just saying,
Mm,
look, it's actually it's easier and less frustrating to commit cybercrime, although you will eventually get caught, than it is to try and report it. Why is there a massive difference in that? And it's really frustrating for me, from my point of view, knowing that I was in a position at one point where I could change things like that, and now I can't, and still seeing people being drawn into almost a world of cybercrime because it's more financially beneficial to them than trying to fight for the right stuff and be in the right side of the law. Because what's the worst that's going to happen? Oh, the police aren't equipped to come and find us. Like, we might as well commit crime, and that sucks because a lot of these people just they don't do it because they're bad people or because they're serious organized criminals. There is a certain percentage that do. However, the vast majority of it is opportunistic, i.e., people that have just left university with a degree, they're looking for work, they don't know what to do, they write a piece of malware, and just for $100 or $1,000 or a couple of $100 here and there, and all of a sudden 10 years later it catches up with them. But why is that situation there in the first place? Like, why does that situation present itself to a lot of these students that leave and don't know where the hell they're going to go, or people that like me that go fuck pharmaceuticals, I'm going to, well, legal pharmaceuticals, I'm going to go and do my own thing, and then don't know what to do for about 16 months and go, hey, fuck it, this guy's offered me some money to do a thing, I'm just going to write it. That's an interesting story, actually, I could tell you about. I get offered $3 million per year for life for an app I wrote back in 2014
Mm. Wait,
by a
so
by a criminal.
what was the app about, if I'm allowed to ask, or is it too?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'll tell you anything. I wouldn't mention it if I wasn't willing to go full operation on it. So the app, it was an interesting time where I was trying to run about 3 different businesses. You know that old adage of 9 out of 10 small businesses fail.
Yes.
Fuck that adage because I built 10 businesses with that in mind, and all of them failed. But I decided
I've
to,
never been lied to so much in my life.
yeah, I'm a professional fuck up, and it's great. I don't know
Fail.
why I'm here, but I got a call, spam call, malicious call,
Mm.
car accident at work, that kind of thing. Which is always quite interesting when you work for yourself and you get accident at work stuff. And I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
fucking sue the bastards because it's just me.
You had an
What
accident at work. Yeah, I have. I dropped the Kellogg's.
sue I dropped a glass of milk, but no, I got these malicious calls and they were really pissing me off because whatever change I wanted to make to whatever product I was working on at the time, I can't even remember. It was like the product was so shit, but I was working on this all weekend, and this guy just wouldn't give up. He kept phoning and phoning from different numbers, spoofing his number all the time. I was like, do you know what? Fuck this guy. I'm gonna go out and find this guy and fuck him up. Not physically, but I'm gonna make sure that he can't call anybody else ever again. So it's like, how do I do that? So I had my phone. I had a shared at the time I was using like a shared phone book with a couple of mates to basically just be an easier way to, I guess, share numbers of each other. It was a weird kind of setup we had. I don't even know why it was there. But I was like, hey, wouldn't it be really cool if I could install a phone book that had all these spam numbers in one place and distribute it throughout the entirety of the country? It's like, right, I can't do that because I don't own O2 and I don't have any friends there. I don't have any friends at any telcos that we can do that. There's no proper distribution method. Hey, wait a minute, the app store's there. Let's build an app. Back when everybody was like, oh, we can build an app, become a millionaire. I was like, let's build an app, fuck the scammers. So I built this little app, and the simple way of explaining it was basically a shared phone book, but you could report a number. If 10 people from all around the country reported the same number with a little bit of kind of analytics to make sure, hey, screw Mick LeBraid, we're just going to all report his number like over and over and over again from the same location at the same time, that would clearly be, it could be malicious. We didn't
Mm.
want businesses to be cut off, for example. And what you could do in this little app was say, hey, right, anybody in this phone book, block the call on iOS and Android. I thought it was a cool idea. I sold it for like 49 pence a go, then upped it to 99 pence, and everybody, not 99 pence a month or a year or anything,
Mm.
just 99 pence. Upped it to 99 pence, got a death threat because it was too expensive. But during that,
99 cent. Fuck off.
yeah. So 99 cents. If you can't pay 99 cents for an app, what the fuck? Especially when Apple were taking, I think, 39 or 37%, somewhere about there. And then I had tax to pay on top of that for anything I earn. Sold thousands and thousands of copies of this app, and the vast majority of people that used it were reporting and blocking numbers. And I don't know whether it's a placebo effect, but a lot of them were reporting, "Hey, I've got reduced spam calls. Thank you so much. This is awesome." And then one day I got an email from this guy called Jason. Let's just call him Jason. I think his name actually was Jason, but we'll get into that in a
Doxed.
minute. Jason doxed. I told you I was going to dox you. he sent me an email and he was like, "Hey, this is a cool app. I've been watching the sales of it. It was like always in the top 10 business or utility category on the iOS App Store. So it was like three, four, somewhere about there." And he was like, "Hey, I've been monitoring the stats. This is really cool. Do you think you might want to expand to the US?" I was like, maybe. I don't know. US numbers are kind of difficult for various reasons. I understood more about the telco system then. So I was like, okay, we could, but a lot of the US scams don't come from US numbers. They come from Canadian numbers. And that could be quite difficult to track and trace. And I don't understand the numbers. So it would be difficult. And he said, "Hey, I'll do all that for you. In fact, here's one better. I will buy it off you. I'll buy the entire tech and the infrastructure to block numbers. I'll buy it off you." I was like, "Okay, this is kind of cool. This is getting serious." He was like, "Here's my basically here's my tax returns for the last 10 years. Here's all my details. Here's all my documents. So I'm legitimate." I was like, "Okay, fine. Like, $10,000 for this app, so you can do nuisance call blocking in the US. I'll go with that." And then he sent me this email, and it said, "What what do you think about $3 million?" And I just remember sitting there going, "This guy's taking the piss. There's no way you're going to offer me $3 million for this piece of shit app. The code is horrible. The logo looks like shit.